Hello everybody, this is Adam Jakimowitz, and I am going to be talking about week 11 topic, which is robots, automation, big data, and the future of emergency management. So let's just get started. Today is November 21st, and I am recording this in Washington, D.C. So the first topic we're going to talk about is big data and artificial intelligence. So let's review what big data is. Big data refers simply to large data sets that are really large that traditional manual data analysis techniques don't really work. This is a new term, and it presents a problem across every single field, and it definitely has relevance in our field. Artificial intelligence, and a subset of that is machine learning, is the ability of computers to learn stuff without specifically being programmed. How that works is, in general, you provide a very large data set, and using a couple techniques of data analysis and statistics and neural networks, the computer sifts through the data, makes patterns, connects things, makes rules, and all types of things. And generally, the human can view it and give it feedback if it's doing well or not. And then it can update its algorithms based on the feedback. But again, essentially, it's basically taking huge amounts of data and applying very computer-intensive computer process to it to discern patterns, group things, and so on and so forth in a very general sense. So on this slide, you'll see on the left-hand side, it's the Watson system competing in Jeopardy. I think most of you guys know about it, but it is an example of both machine learning and big data applied on a consumer level. This week you have a couple YouTube videos about Watson, so I'm not going to get into detail, but it is basically the kind of first commercial product or service available to everybody to take advantage of big data analysis techniques and machine learning. So definitely watch those videos, and if in your professional careers, if you have a problem with a large amount of data needing analysis, I suggest that's where you go. Why is it important to us? Disasters are all about scale. Large disasters are infinitely more complex than small ones. Large disasters have infinitely more data generated. In this day and age, the amount of sensors that we have, which include, our iPhone cameras, are extremely prolific and suck up a huge amount of data. And as emergency managers, we need to make use of that data and not let it overwhelm us. So there's certain techniques that we can use to do that, and the advantage of that is you potentially can reduce your footprint on the ground in the response effort, in the mitigation and planning effort. You can do some more detailed analysis and help you focus resources and prioritize stuff. On the GIS remote sensing field, you can use it to sift through large amounts of data, get patterns, for example, areas of damage or areas where, let's say, a hurricane took out a large swath of trees in a forest. So there's all types of techniques, but when you're talking about big data, always remember that machine learning is part of that, and it's not a futuristic thing. It's available as a tool to us now. Second topic, robots and automation. Robots are not new. We've had robots for a very long time, hundreds of years actually. What is new is that the pace at which robots are being utilized is growing exponentially. Why is that happening? One, because overall the cost is coming down radically. Why is that happening? Because sensor technology is getting way more advanced, and the machine learning techniques that we talked about are getting more advanced. If you look at that Uber car, it's got about 30 different sensors on it, and that, again, that generates a huge amount of data. So you need really fast computers, and you need good software to sift through that data and make use of what's important and disregard what's not important. So you might be thinking, that's all in the future, but that picture in the middle is an actual car that's driving in Pittsburgh today as we speak. Uber has a pilot program that has driverless cars operating in Pittsburgh right now. The Google car has driven from the East Coast to the West Coast, I think, about 10 times now. And, you see a driver in there, and they're just there for safety. On the right-hand side, you see a drone that's dropping some fire retardant on a forest fire. Drones are obviously very popular these days. Something I do my research on. Why are they popular? Because they're cheap. That's the main reason. And they, again, advancement in sensors and software has allowed them to be so cheap. Drones are an area where the regulations are actually keeping the technology back. The main regulation right now that the FAA puts in place, and for good reason, is that you can't lose visual sight of your aircraft. For example, you think a military Predator, flying overseas is actually piloted in probably Las Vegas or another military base. But those drones are extremely sophisticated with all types of sensors and operate in areas that has controlled traffic. So there's a lot of precautions there. But when you're talking about the small cheap drones, you can't lose sight of it. Even though there's technology that allows you to send your drone out 40 kilometers and come back with a push of a button, you can't do that for good reason. How do you know your drone is not about to hit a building? How do you know your drone is not, going right in front of the flight path of a jumbo jet or a manned aircraft? So there's good reason for that. But, at the same time, we all know that those regulations are going to loosen. At some point, we're going to have drone delivery services everywhere. For emergency management, drones can be great at collecting real-time intelligence information, data collection, mapping. That my research is on mapping. You can, traditionally you'd have to wait for the satellite to pass over or get a real plane or helicopter to get some aerial imagery, but now immediately after a disaster, you can throw up a drone and get some real-time data without the wait. Delivering supplies, obviously, we know about that. I encourage you to check out a company called Zipline, zipline.com, and they have a system in Rwanda to deliver critical medical supplies all over the country. If you notice in their videos, their drones, which are fixed-wing drones, travel hundreds of kilometers, so clearly you lose sight of that very quickly. So you couldn't do that in the United States, but they've chosen to use Rwanda as kind of a test bed where they have looser regulations where you can do that. And at the same time, they're providing a very good and valuable service. The last picture are the Boston Dynamics platforms. There's many robotics companies out there, but Boston Dynamics is one of the leading companies, and they have a whole series of platforms. Part of your assignments this week is to go and search some YouTube videos, and you'll see these platforms out there. There's a lot of applications for the military, but for emergency management as well. In the first response area, clearly sending a robot in versus a firefighter has advantages. Whether a robot can perform the same as a human at this point is still unknown, but that's the goal: save lives and send a robot in instead of the human. So yeah, check out Boston Dynamics and do some kind of searches on YouTube and otherwise, and you'll see some really cool stuff out there. So yeah, robots and automation. Automation is the next piece. Automation is a very important part of robotics. Automation doesn't need a robot, but having a robot often is essential for automation. But automation basically refers to, getting the human out of the loop. Having the computer and the robot do it, where previously the human did it. Obviously, this is a trend that we're going to, in general, in everything in the future. And it's something we need to pay attention to. You'll notice that one of the videos that you're required to watch this week is called Humans Need Not Apply. I think it's a great video. I'm not taking a position right now on whether I agree with it or not, but I can say it's well presented and it's a strong argument. And I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts in the discussion area on what you think about that. But clearly, watching that video, you'll see that there's going to be some major issues with automation. Specifically, what do all those humans do whose jobs have been taken over by robots? So, lastly, let's get to the future. So obviously, there's a lot of unknowns. For those of you who are not sci-fi people, this is a picture from the Terminator movies. The concept of that movie involves Skynet, which was a system developed, I think, around present time, where machines were basically taking over many tasks of humans, and essentially this network of machines and computers gained some sort of consciousness and decided that they were better off with the humans, and they started killing everyone, which obviously is fantasy, but does make for a very good movie. So what are my thoughts on it? Yeah, I'm not that bleak on it. The good part is if that nightmare scenario of that comes true, us in emergency management are well positioned because we're going to have to deal with the consequences. So at least there's some good parts to it. But, in general, I'm an adopter of technology. I believe let's just go with the flow. Let's use it to our advantage. I'm not a Luddite. So those are my thoughts. I don't think in our generation there's any doom and gloom scenarios like that. Maybe in future generations. But I'm definitely an optimist. And I definitely feel like, in general, robots, automation, big data techniques are nothing but advantageous to our field. And you guys, as future emergency managers, need to start learning about those, because these are going to be commonplace tools. And knowing about those and being able to use them will absolutely give you a leg up on the competition. So, lastly, I definitely encourage you to do your own research on robots and automation. Take a look at the IBM Watson videos and the Humans Need Not Apply videos, and let that all soak in, and proceed forward. So thank you very much, and we'll talk later.